Hey, excuse me. Are you Guido Mista? Sorry.
Uh, who's asking?
Um, I'm with the National Labor Relations Board. Stands Division,
Uh,
actually.
what do you know about stands? How do you know about stands? What are you talking about?
I mean, I I was just told by the Familia that that stands are a thing, and that we're just trying to look out for all the stands of the people in the Familia. Just trying to make sure that all that's sorted out. We're criminals, but we're not. but we care about the rights of our workers and their stands. Because
Sure.
a
Where are
hap-
you going with this?
because a happy stand is a good working stand, right? Okay, so
I
I
agree.
some issues with Sex Pistols have been brought to our attention. Your stand.
Yeah, my stand Sex Pistols. Wait, huh? What do you mean issues?
I mean, to be quite blunt, uh they said that you pay them in salami. Is that right?
Yeah, we eat snacks all the time. What do you mean?
But that's what their pay is. They're not receiving any additional compensation for their work, for their labor.
Are people paying stands now? When did this happen? I thought salami was like the most anybody ever got. Ask Narancha what Aerosmith's eating. F you. Get out of my face.
That's the best we got this episode, folks.
That's the bit we got this, folks. Yep, that's the bit we got.
Sorry, we're going into the new year with a bit of a low energy bit.
I have worked approximately 30 hours in the past 3 days.
Yeah.
Sleepy boy. Um,
But yeah,
but
welcome to the show.
my name
Hi.
is Brogan.
And I'm Josh, and this is How to
And
Otaku, the
sure
show
is
where I'm subjected to anime.
subjected to.
Yeah,
That's how you
against my
feel about
will.
part five? That's crazy.
Against my will. No, it's not like I
Against
enjoy
my
this shit.
will.
I don't
Yeah,
like
you
none of this
don't
dirty
you
weeb.
any of this dirty, filthy weeaboo garbage.
That's why I have. That's why we have to get paid to do it. That's why we have to. That's why you have to go support us on Patreon right now.
Listen, man. Wait, is our Patreon live?
No,
Is
it's
this a
not.
fucking
It's
cold
not.
announcement? That's
I've not.
crazy.
I've not worked.
I can't,
I'm working on it. I'm working on it. But
I can't believe you would bait like that 3 minutes into an episode.
but
We've
yeah.
been doing this for years now, guys. If that is not an indication that Josh does this for fun, I don't know what is.
But yeah, if you wanna support me as I dredge through this bull that I'm forced on a daily basis, you can check us out on our socials, share us around. The more listeners we have, we might finally start getting some ad revenue. That would be nice again.
So, Josh, I take it that you hate part five. Am I reading this clearly?
I don't hate part 5. I don't hate it. Okay, it's not my favorite, but I'm enjoying it so far. Okay, I'm
I think you will mellow on it
I'm being
later
facetious.
into it.
Yeah,
It's I coming off of part four is rough. I know.
it is.
I know we just had part four. Part five is very good.
Part 5 is very good. Like I am being facetious when I say that like this shit sucks, or
Being
whatever.
subjected,
It's I mean,
victimized, even.
like it's the same thing with Stardust Crusaders. It's like even mediocre JoJo is still like it's still some of the best that's around, and I think that like with part 5, like the craft that David Production is putting into each episode is getting better and better still,
I
right?
think that's the most notable part of part five as an adaptation. Um, is that this is kind of where David, like, part four still had some quirks about it where I didn't feel that it quite matched the manga.
Yeah,
Part five is where they basically converge into one thing.
yeah, like it
It is a very solid adaptation of part 5 itself. Like they knocked it out of the ballpark. It is nearly 1-to-1.
Okay.
Like it is incredible as a faithful adaptation of part 5. Not to say that the other adaptations have not been, but in terms of just like the sheer character artwork and how faithful it is to the panels themselves, like part 5 is crazy. Other than that, it's a lot of dope stand fights and like not much else for as far as we've gotten into it so far. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, like I think that, like, first of all, the animation has significantly improved, and then also, like, you know, like I was saying, like, you know, I think that there is a little more Stardust Crusaders in this than Diamond is Unbreakable, right? Like, it's bringing it back to a more, like, you know, hard action focus and, you know, like a bit more of a journeying kind of storyline as opposed to the very centralized story of part 4, right? You know, I mean,
Right.
you're traveling across just one country basically, but like it still kind of has that rollicking adventure kind of.
It's very much a tour of Italy almost. Like
Yeah.
and we get a lot more of that later on, but it's gorgeous. It is. I mean, and you know, credit to Iraqi, credit to Italy existing as is. Like it's just
Yeah.
he did such a phenomenal job rendering these things in the first place, and then David's color work on top of that in the adaptation is some of the most gorgeous shit I've seen in my life. Like part 5's rendition of Italy is just beautiful.
Yeah, it almost makes you want to go to Italy.
The JoJo's fans in Italy are afraid. Have you seen, you know, this guy on YouTube called Rainbolt?
No, I don't.
He's the I actually don't know if he does the JoJo memes or not, but he's the GeoGuessr guy.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Yeah.
he can tell to a 2-mile radius exactly where any photograph on the planet is.
He's like a real life stand user in that regard. My stand is that from one picture, I could locate within 2 miles.
He literally has hollow purple.
Mm. But yeah,
Not
what
hollow
about him?
purple, hermit purple.
Yeah, but what about him?
That's it.
Oh.
I just
I thought he had some
shit
connection
tons-
to Italy or something.
No, well, I mean, tons of the like JoJo memes from like GeoGuessr videos is JoJo's related.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Cut this bit out. This is stupid. I shouldn't have brought it up.
Whenever you say something is stupid, it's absolutely staying in.
So Josh, who are we introduced to at the very beginning of part 5? Who's the first character you see?
I'm sorry, I don't remember.
It's our stand-up friend.
Oh, yes, it's Koichi, our
What
little
a stand-up guy.
That's
Yeah,
right.
what a stand-up dude.
I was trying to
And he is
remember
not
exactly
at all
who the first
taller
person
at
is.
all.
Nope,
One bit.
not at all taller, and that is great, honestly. Love that little guy, and I love that they basically have him here just to introduce the idea of Giorno Giovanna, the protagonist of this series.
So the impetus, as we have it in the first episode, is that Jotaro sent Koichi, because he's such a stand-up guy, to Italy to track down one of Dio's children.
Yeah, because Dio
Dio a lot. This is not the last of Dio's children that we will see, I promise you. So Koichi goes to Italy.
Yeah.
He gets off the airplane. He walks into town. He takes the first taxi he sees. And guess who it is?
It's
It's Dio's kid. And he immediately tries to rob him.
Yeah.
He takes his suitcase. He like immediately he puts the suitcase in the car. He slams the door and he drives away. And then Koichi freeze, you know, so like the car doesn't go anywhere. But we get introduced to Giorno's stand, which is Gold Experience. So Josh, what is your opinion on Gold Experience as you've seen it so far?
So my opinion of his stand is that it's pretty good. Like there was a little sag in the middle there where like he was kind of like not getting to do a lot, and I was like, okay, what is the limit to what his stand could do? And then it kind of bumps back up, and it's like, oh, his stand could do a ton. Like, it could do basically anything.
Oh my god. You don't know the half of it.
Like,
But yes.
he he cures himself from a poison that doesn't exist in the real world by turning a brick that is saturated with the poison into a snake, and then getting bitten by the snake so that it has like an anti-venom or something. Like, what the
He drank the piss cup, but he turned his tooth into
Oh
a
yeah, the
jellyfish,
piss
so he
cup.
filtered it out. He turned a frog into a dollar bill and then back into a frog. Like the limits of Golden Experience as is are basically non-existent. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, and like I said this in a previous episode, but like it puts Stans put every other like superhero media to shame. Like,
It really, I'm just like, and it's not even because of the stands necessarily, right? Like, I think detached from stands, if somebody just created insane powers, like super specialized and specific power sets
Yeah.
with that's the interesting concept. Stands existing or not, but like the two of them together, the fact that it is a stand, and then like just the insane shit Araki does with it, just like
well, that's what
I really can't.
That's what I'm saying,
Like,
is that like, the thing about stands being like especially like specialized in their abilities is that like it gives you like a set expectation of what their abilities can do, and then he finds these loopholes in the abilities that constantly make you second guess what their ability, what the true power of their abilities really is.
Right, and I think a lot of where the fun of it comes from is the mind games of like, I have
yeah.
explained to you how my ability works, but also I've had this ability for a really long time, and there are no rules. Like, when you explain what a stand can do, it sounds like a set of rules,
Yeah.
but there are no rules. I can do whatever my stand allows. So
Exactly.
like, when you get to the point of understanding your own stand, which how does Araki understand it on such a deep level at all times? Like, every single stand he introduced, it seems like he just fully comprehends everything that would be even conceivable that it could do. And it's just like, it is ridiculous. Now, that being said, the one stand that I'm not really sure gets used to its fullest potential is Leaky Eye Luca's. But
Yeah.
what is Leaky Eye Luca gonna do against the force that is Giorno Giovanna? Like, victim number one, it's a hit list. They're just gonna die.
Yeah, what is... Hang on. Let me...
He doesn't have a stand. People joke about Leaky Eye Luca's stand being his shovel, but as far as we know, he doesn't actually have a stand.
Oh, okay. My stand is shovel.
My stand, shovel. But yeah, so from
speaking
here,
of the shovel,
go ahead.
because Leaky Eye Luca and JoJo get in a bit of a scuffle, and he just like knocks that dude's head right in, and that's kind of like the inciting incident of like him getting introduced into this mafia of the of the country, which is like the big driving force.
He just fully concaves his head, and then he's approached by like basically head capo of a division of the mafia that is like specialized in using stands for doing and another thing we should say, they get into it a little later, but Dio was obviously not present in Giorno's life, like, at all. Like, his mom had the kid, and then his mom had a kid, right? So that like that's all there was to it. And it was
Yep.
like
Busting
not a
balance.
great upbreeding
Yeah.
because like, stepdad is a dickhead, not super financially well off. And so while he is a child, oh god, he I can't remember exactly what happened, but he like does something that is like a kind gesture towards who is actually turns out to be the mob boss.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah. Like there's a mob boss who's like bleeding in the back alley,
oh
and
yeah,
some
yeah,
guys
yeah,
are
yeah.
looking
He
for
gets
him, and
shot in the street, and
yeah,
he
and
turns
then
him the other direction.
yeah, and then once that guy like gets back up and recovers, then it's like, he's watching him over the streets and making sure that he's taken care of, and that's what inspires him to become part of the mafia, right?
Right. He wants to become a gang star, but also he is a very principled man, and he
Yep,
thinks that the gang should really stop selling drugs to children. So he's going to become the gang star and
yep,
destroy the mafia, becoming the mob boss. And he's gonna do it too. There's no
yep.
stopping him.
Yep, he is a very determined individual. He will tell you very often. He's like, "I have this mission, this dream. I have a
Yeah,
dream."
Giorno Giovanna has a dream. Exactly. Exactly. He had a
Man,
dream where little boys and little girls could all
we
play
should
together in the street.
we should have had this episode dropping on MLK Day. That would have been sick.
I know we could have pushed it back just a little bit. We could have flipped it around. We could have watched Dandadan. But no,
It's fine. It's fine.
um,
Uh,
but yeah, so after just concaving Leaky Eye Luca's head, Bruno gets sent to basically deal with it. I mean, he's like, okay, figure out what's going on with this guy. We can't have somebody running around killing our members and
yep.
putting them in hospital comas.
Yep.
So go figure this out. And
He
we get
goes over there.
introduced to another insane stand. Like, what the
Zippers.
sticky finger? Do not call it. Oh my god, dude. Zipper man.
I'm sorry. I watched the dub. I'm sorry.
Sticky fingers. Oh my god, Zipper man. Holy. I'm
Though I
actually
believe that
excited to know what they call him.
uh I believe Zipper Man is also the name of a song by the same band, so I think it works either way.
I think you might be right, but at the same time, the first time I heard him say Zipper man, I was like, what? Um,
Oh, and
but yeah,
we can't ignore Bruno introducing himself by licking Giorno's face, the sweat off of Giorno's face, and being
yeah,
like,
it's the
"I can
taste
tell
of a
when you
traitor.
lie." And I thought that
Yeah,
was his stand at first, but then no, he has a different stand that is entirely different, and the the sweat thing never comes back.
yeah. I mean, you don't become a leading capo of the Italian mafia without being able to taste the fear in someone.
I think I'm sure that that the homoeroticism of JoJo is a recurring meme amongst the community, but like, what other reason do you have to just include a scene of a man licking another man's cheek?
White Album. We'll get there. um, but yeah, so this kind of folds in on itself because Bruno realizes that, oh, actually, this Giorno guy is kind of dope. So like, actually, I think I'm in with him on this plan. And I
Yep.
think my whole crew is too. So we're going to get him actually into the gang. We're going to initiate him. We got to go talk to this guy named Polpo, who technically lives in prison, but also like he is waited on hand and foot by every prison guard. He has whatever he wants. He is like freely allowed visitation from anybody at any time that he wants to speak to. It is like, he's in jail, but he's
Yeah.
in jail. He is still completely running things in this aspect. So they send him to go be initiated basically into Passione. And this initiation is he has to keep a lighter lit at all times for 24 hours.
Yeah.
Sounds easy enough, right?
Yep. And then
So fucking wrong.
exactly. Well, like a whole like series of comedic incidents happen where like he the wind almost blows it the wrong way, and then like he sets up a whole little thing in his bedroom to kind of like try to keep it away, but then Koichi's still following him, right? And so he's trying to like dance around like keeping Koichi away, and trying to keep him away from the flame itself, because he doesn't understand what the fuck's going on. He just thinks
Right,
it's
and
a flame in
Koichi's
a
just like,
room.
why is there a fight? And so like eventually it gets well, so even before that, he starts getting tracked down by Black Sabbath, right?
Yep.
Which is this autonomous stand, which is it Polpo's? Am I crazy? Is it Polpo's
Yeah,
stand or
that's
is it
Polpo's stand.
okay? So yeah, the its whole deal is it lives in the shadows. It will find you and it will stab you with a stand arrow.
Yep.
And bad things happen if you get stabbed with a stand arrow for people who can't use stands or
Yep.
for people who already have stands. So
They
we
never
don't want
actually
that to happen.
they never clarified whether or not getting if you have a stand and get stabbed, if that's going to be bad, or if nothing happens, or if you get two stands. They never clarified.
They do. Trust me, they do. We'll get back to it.
Okay.
Trust
Okay.
me, we'll get back to it. I promise all your questions will be answered. For now,
All right.
let's just say it's a bad thing. And
Okay.
he does not want it to happen. So, just through a combination of sheer ingenuity and being the son of Dio and having the most busted stand known to mankind, he avoids Black Sabbath and he does the torch thing. He pulls the
Yep.
torch and he does it, and yippee. But also then he goes back to Polpo's cell and oh wait, does that not happen yet? I don't think that happened yet.
What?
Never mind. Oh no, yeah,
Yeah,
banana
yeah.
gun.
Yeah, banana gun.
Yeah, so victim number 2, Giorno doesn't even kill this guy. He's not even in the room.
Yep.
He turns the banana into a gun and
Yep.
then Polpo kills himself.
Which is
So
hilarious.
day 1 in the gang, staged suicide, literally initiated immediate assassination, just like menace to society, psychopath. He's Dio's son. Like, don't get it twisted. He's a determined guy. He has a dream. He's not really a bad dude because in the grand scheme of things, the people he's doing this to aren't great. He's a psycho.
Look, if you see a banana peel on the street and a dead man next to it, you know that Dio's been around. You know?
You know who was nearby. Exactly. So
Like, did bro not realize he was pulling the trigger or something? What's the deal with that?
listen, man, you know how you eat a banana. You firmly grasp it.
Firm grip.
So immediately after this, he gets introduced to the gang.
Yeah.
So they go to they go to some restaurant. I can't remember. It's like the restaurant that Bruno has his meetings at. They just basically put him there.
Ristorante. I don't remember what the name is.
And so there are kind of two things developing at once here. Giorno is being introduced to the gang members,
Yep.
but also people have taken an immediate interest in the fact that a mob boss is dead.
Yep.
And there are a couple of guys who think that they may know what's going on, but also they're just like, there was some treasure and now he's dead, so it's up for grabs.
Yep.
So
Pulpo had like this secret treasure that nobody else knew about, and but Bruno's like, I know where that is. I'm gonna track that down right now, you know, because I was under because I was under Pulpo and he was the one who had me hide it. So I'm gonna get that before anybody else does. Of course, people catch on and they suddenly in this like chase where it's where other people are trying to catch him and get the treasure instead, you know.
Right, and
because it's like a billion lira or something, right? It's like
right, it's a ridiculous amount of money. But so these stands are weird, right? So it's Kraftwerk and Soft Machine, right? And so Kraftwerk's whole thing is so he's fighting Mista on the truck, right? How does I forget how this plays out because
it's like $28 million.
Is it 28 billion?
28 million.
Still.
Yeah.
I forget exactly how this plays out because so people they get onto a boat, right? It's Giorno and Mista and no.
It's the whole crew.
Everybody's on the damn boat.
Yep.
And people start disappearing, vanishing from the boat, which we get introduced to a Bacchio's stand. Very interesting. It's Moody Blues.
Yeah.
And its ability is kind of just like detective mode. He used to be a cop, and so I guess his stand is just detective mode. He gets to
the stand
create copies of people, basically. It's a recording of like anything that has happened in your spatial surroundings recently or in an area. If you're like in a place, you can see what happened there.
Yeah, but it only like the stand only like recreates the actions of one specific person. So like
exactly, you can only see one person at a time.
You know, I would be interested to see if later on in this part they have a scene where like one person is acting and like some other person is around and like they're trying to deduce it or something.
Trust me, again, we'll get there. We'll get there. So yeah, people start disappearing from the boat. Moody Blues does his thing. They find the guy on the boat, and Josh, what did they do to the guy on the boat? Josh, tell me about what happens to this guy on the boat. They won't believe it if I tell them, and they haven't seen it.
So they get sticky fingers. They basically like detach the guy's head from his body, because you can do that if you like have a zipper all the way around something. Of course, you can detach it. So like they detach his head from the rest of his body, and then they put a fishing line through his eyelid, hang him up, put glasses over him, and like stare him up at the sun.
Yeah, they fix the focal point of like they they use the sunglasses as like magnifying beams to take the sun and burn his corneas. They zip his mouth shut, and then
they
start dancing.
Yeah, then Naranja puts on this crazy ass song that's been on my Spotify for 3 years, and I didn't know it was related until like a month ago, but. But they put that song on, and then they just start dancing around until bro gets sick of it.
Banger, by the way. Deserves a playlist spot.
Yep. In general, I think the music in this one is pretty good. Like, you know.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like the music's always been pretty good, but like I noticed it more in this one, you know. And I really love that that main theme, that I think it's a variant of the like an older JoJo theme, but this one sounds really good.
It is. I mean, the main theme always plays with the same, or at least very similar leitmotifs, because
because
it's another thing that David Productions has made so good about JoJo's. It is just another way to reinforce the feeling of lineage. It is just like, I love JoJo's. Honestly, I feel like we're getting a little long in the tooth for like the actual subject matter for what is going on here.
Like,
y'all don't come
so
for a synopsis of the show you just watched, you
yeah.
know?
All right, so let's just kind of yada yada through like the core plot beats, right? So like they they get to this town where they've got the stuff stashed away. There's a cool fight scene on top of a truck that I really like. Yeah,
Yes, between Sex Pistols and
I'll say this right
Kraftwerk.
now. I like any fight scene that takes place on a moving vehicle, and this one has one that takes place on top of a truck and one that takes place on a train. And that just always does it for me because you're just adding another layer of momentum on top of whatever you're doing, right, or whatever the action is, right?
Right. I mean, it's like I'm not only fighting this dude, which is already like, okay, holy shit, I'm fighting this dude.
Yep.
I'm fighting this dude with a stand, and also there's a train tunnel coming, and I'm way too tall.
Yep. it's and on top of that, like it's simultaneously like it's moving through a lot of space, but you're also contained within it, right? So like it creates kind of like a pressure cooker situation, right?
Oh yeah.
I especially love the train sequence, right? Like the truck fight is pretty good too. Him telling the guy to constantly stop and start is pretty funny.
I don't want to spoil too much, but we do get the full the holy trinity. We get planes, trains, and automobiles.
Oh hell yeah.
There is a plane fight that happens in the next half of the season.
Please tell me Joseph Joestar, his old decrepit ass, is the one flying.
No, unfortunately not.
Damn. Man.
But yeah, so eventually we get to the point. I mean, a lot of this is kind of like villain of the week. I think they couch it much better than part 3 because when you're watching it, when you're going through it, it's dragging you along. You're not just like, I'm watching. I gotta see what happens at the end, so I'll watch the next episode so I have the context. It is what the is happening next.
Yeah. And like on top of that, like it's kind of corny how they do it, but or kind of corny in a little bit of a way. But like every single time one of these members of the gang has their own individual fight with one of these enemy stand users, they take that opportunity to then flash back you to their gang member origin story, where it's like,
Right.
what was their decrepit life situation, what reason did their parents die/divorce,
Well, and that is one of the strong suits of part 5 is that it gives you a much more detailed look into some of these secondary characters' lives that
part 3 does
the
not.
gang as a unit, exactly. The gang
even part
as a
4
unit
doesn't really
feels
do very much.
exactly. It feels so much more cohesive because you are given so much about these characters to attach to and that you can care about, and that will like even if the fight itself is like not super interesting to you, the stakes are there and the characters that you care about are there, that you're like, I gotta see these guys through. I gotta stick with them.
Yeah. I will. So which one of the gang is your favorite personally? Like I personally gravitate towards Narancia. Like, I love his goofy ass. I love, what a low-key little wit he is, like
My two favorites, and it's because they have some of those aspects of the Jotaro Okiasu dynamic.
Yeah.
Is Mista and Narancia. But I love the scene in like the introduction where Fugo is trying to teach Narancia how to read. Stabs him in the face with a fork.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of
God.
Fugo, honestly, and him Judasing the rest of the group at the end didn't really help.
Yeah.
But he's also the one that I feel like gets the least development. So they kind of teach you not to get attached to him too much, right?
Well, yeah. I think one of the problems with that is that Araki came up with Purple Haze and then realized, you know how Golden Experience might be a little too strong?
Yeah.
Purple Haze cannot be allowed to exist. But if you like Fugo and you want more Fugo, Purple Haze Feedback.
Purple Haze Feedback.
That
Is that like
exists.
a spinoff?
Yeah, it's so like part two has the George Joestar novel.
Yeah.
Um, we're getting some more. I don't want to necessarily say canonized, but there are a few bits of side media and like fan media that have become canonized, like officially. So, like George Joestar, I do not believe. I knew you were gonna pull that. I do not believe that that is canon.
Oh damn.
Um,
Well, also, I'm still gonna read it. Eventually when I get time.
but I think that George Joestar and Purple Haze Feedback are like the two most notable examples of canonized fan content.
Okay.
I think that people put oh god, and we should go back and watch this at some point, maybe as a fan, like a Patreon episode. But there is a mini series
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
about Rohan Kishibe, which I think was actually written by Araki. So I don't think that's quite the same thing as what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
but
But
it's
it's on
still a
Netflix
spin-off.
and it's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. Where were you going with that? I mentioned Fugo or something.
Oh yeah, Purple Haze Feedback. If you like Fugo and you want more Fugo content, it's great and it's canon. So go read that.
All right. Cool. I'm not a huge fan of Fugo, so I'll probably put that on the back burner. But, you know, yeah. So I will say one of the things that this part kind of inherits from Stardust Crusaders, that was one of my big gripes with it. It's not as bad here, but like I'm less invested in Giorno than in the other characters, and I feel like for a show named JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, I kind of need to care about JoJo, right?
That has been a long-standing complaint about about part five.
Yeah.
Is how like sometimes people call Giorno a Mary Sue. So it's like I can kind of get it because he's kind of like, I mean, his one thing is he is determined to become mob boss.
Yeah.
And so like not much character bleeds out of that, but he is just a walking force. Like that's really all he
Yeah.
is. He's otherworldly. He is tantamount to a god. Like he is actually just a walking force like Dio was. And he is not as bleeding of an asshole as Dio is.
Yeah.
But like the characterization, I joke about this, but I really do think he's a psychopath. Like I think he is like entirely disconnected. I think he cares about the people that he is like directly surrounded by, and I think he has ideas about society that are broadly noble,
Yeah.
right? But like at the end of the day, he is still seeking like power for himself and also just will do whatever it takes.
Yeah, and like obviously a lot of those goals and desires I'm hoping are getting a little bit more fleshed out in the next part, because this part is very preoccupied with like, first of all, this goal of getting this treasure so that Bruno can essentially inherit the spot of Capo from Pulpo. But then also, right after that, they're basically their whole team is they're essentially given the task of protecting Trish, the boss's illegitimate daughter, right?
Yes.
Bosu. Yeah. So it's there's that stuff going on that kind of gets in the way of like actually getting to the development of Giorno's like his own motivations for getting the top spot, right? But like
Right.
but yeah, I do get it that like he is just kind of seeking power for himself, and like if he's a better boss than the current boss, that's fine, but like it's not addressing the inherent problem, which is crime syndicates in general.
You're right, exactly. And I will say, I don't know how much I want to say that his specific goals become more developed, but there's a shift.
Yeah.
Like the things that we are concerned about change drastically. So
Yep.
I think that the second half of part 5 is definitely stronger. That is where, like, when I think about part 5, that is the core of what I think about is the story beats and events in the second half of this. I'm trying to think. It's not necessarily the next episode you will watch, but very quickly we are going to be introduced to a character that is going to change basically everything we know. So just
like, hold on to it,
right. Don't I don't want I know right now we're like, okay, this is not as good as part 4. And I think broadly I may still like part 4 better, but the second half of part 5 is
Kino.
Things happen. So we'll get there eventually. But that's really kind of like the most important thing about what's going on right now is we are ferrying the boss's daughter and we are trying to keep her alive. So that becomes the impetus of what is happening for this, like, for the majority of this chunk. Like, once we get past I'm in the gang, Capo's dead, Bruno's our new Capo, and we're gonna kill the boss. But also they've gotten enough attention as, like, okay, they've taken down enemy syndicates, they've taken down this, that, and the other. We've got no standing Capo in this area. We'll give them the promotion. Da 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 da. There is interest to it. There is drama to it. I enjoy watching the episodes. They are incredibly fun fights. They are done incredibly well. It's not giving me a lot thematically to talk about right now.
Yeah, like
I will have a lot more to say when all the themes develop and things like that. When we actually get to the point where we are wrapping things up and putting pretty little bows on it. But like I'm biting my tongue at every corner here because everything's a setup. But it's like right now you're just like, where's this setup going? I don't even know what's a setup and what's not. Half this shit doesn't seem very important. Half of it really isn't. But like it's solid. Like you said earlier, I think JoJo's it's bizarre. And it's just like it's not Demon Slayer, okay? Like the only reason Demon Slayer is anybody watches it at all is because it is well animated. It is pretty.
Yeah.
The story in that show practically non-existent, dude. Like and even here this is like we might get to it at some point. I hate Demon Slayer. It's not like Sword Art Online to me.
Yeah, but there's like 5 seasons and 3 movies, it's going to be tough for us to get to it.
It's so incredibly well, and that's my main complaint. We probably watch one season because it is so incredibly successful and so long run in terms of what it is. And at the end of the day, it's kind of a paint by numbers shonen that just happened to get a really excellent adaptation. At least in terms of the visual department.
Yeah.
But like JoJo's it's just not that. If it gets its grip on you, it is just gonna yank.
Yeah.
It will pull you along forever. I will say I'm on brief hiatus personally from part 9. I'm waiting for more of that to develop before I get back into it because the monthly release schedule was driving me insane. But I'm gonna hop back on the part 9 train pretty soon.
Is that Jojolia or what's
Uh,
part 9?
JoJolian, I think.
Jojo.
No. JoJolian is part 8. JoJo Land is part
Jojo
9.
Land. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. I will say, like, the one thing thematically I am kind of latching on to, and like I kind of made a light reference to it earlier, is like, you know, just like all these characters who are like in the mafia for these kind of like these similar yet slightly varied reasons of like, getting down put by society in some way, and then and then the mafia kind of like swoops in and is like, here's a power structure that you can rely on as long as you contribute, right?
Right.
It That sort of thing is like, pretty obvious and common in a lot of mob media, but like,
Sure.
as somebody who like hasn't doled themselves to death in, Sopranos and and Goodfellas and whatever, like who isn't like who hasn't gotten to so much of that stuff that I'm sick of those tropes. I like the tropes here, and I find them effective in characterization and, pulling everyone kind of together,
Right. And I will say that's one of the things that we've gotten to the point where Araki has gotten comfortable enough with stands that he is starting to make ridiculous
Mm-hmm.
for practically no reason. Like every other stand is just the craziest thing you've ever seen. Toy
Yep.
airplane.
Oh, that
Uh
I love that stand.
Spoiler I was about to say out loud. The White Album. Like all of the stands themselves that we have seen so far, ridiculous. Just every single season, if nothing else, you can believe that the stands are going to get more ridiculous. Like,
Yeah,
but,
but then
and so there is.
but then
But it's
again,
like it's not even a question of power scaling. Like they're not getting stronger necessarily,
yeah,
but they're getting way more specific.
they are. But at the same time, like, we also had a gorilla whose stand was, turning into like a big ship in the first
Right.
season with stands, right? It like
Right.
there were still incredibly specific stands. He's just continuing to think outside the box, right? You know.
He has no box. The box it's the box that he had was Pandora's box, and he opened it, and now there is no more box. The box
Yep.
is destroyed.
Yep, much to Gyakio's dismay.
Oh no.
Oh, we do need to talk about Melone, is that right? I'm trying to remember how you pronounce it.
Malone?
Malone, yeah. His stand
Yes.
um is very bizarre.
You talking about Babyface?
Babyface, yeah. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, like,
knowing what I know about knowing what I know about Park 6, I get that he's going to get a little bit better soon about female representation. But like, I don't know, nothing good happens to a woman in this show.
you could argue some things for Trish later on, but I mean,
I haven't gotten there yet.
you know, I have no, I've got nothing to say. I can't defend it. It's up.
Yeah, we have Lisa, and that's about it so far.
And even her, it was like her own kid was peeping her in the bathtub. So like, oh,
Yeah.
um, again, of all the praise I will shovel onto Hirohiko Araki.
Yeah.
He's not immune from some of the more parts of anime,
Yeah.
and it's just like
And like,
we talk about this every so often. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the cultural differences are that make it so kind of widely acceptable that these depictions were kind of like the norm for
yeah.
so long and still to this day. Um Araki gets better about it. I think progressively he does. There are still
I mean,
obviously instances
I
like Babyface where it's just like it's not even necessarily. I wouldn't call it like or like it's just like it's weird. Like how do you come up with that?
yeah,
Like it's such a
you couldn't
weird compromising
you couldn't
position to put another person into. But at the same time,
you
like
couldn't
I
have the stand operate in a slightly different, weirdly like less SAE kind of way and still have it work. Like it's
right,
just
like I mean you could still make it parasitic without having to make it so like
yeah, and sim similarly,
ugh.
the reason why we don't like the gorilla guy is because, his perversions don't add anything to the plot. It's not like he had to go there or anything.
No, not really.
Yeah, like, and I will say this, like, as far as like American media is concerned, right? Like, if you're looking at the same time frame that this was written, which is like the early 2000s,
Right.
it's not like, the vast majority of American media was doing particularly better about female representation either. We are watching like, a 2018 adaptation of like a 2003 manga, so
Right. And
it's
I think that that is kind of what makes it a little more uncomfortable is that like yes, when this was written was like over 2 decades ago.
yeah,
Um when it came out again, it was 2018.
yeah, it's just very different time, but
It just like it's like I'm not saying it didn't sit bad back then, but like
the
it's just like there needs to be some more like tangible story reason or impetus that you would depict something in such an odd way, in my opinion.
yeah,
Like you would have to have so many more reasons that this has to be
hmm,
like not even reasons that this has to be, but like reasons that it is important for the story or something that the characters will react to in an appropriate way. And it's like
yeah.
it is reacted to like every other stand, which is like, he gets the beat out of him and they're like, you're a weirdo and I'm gonna do
Yeah.
muda muda, like so like he doesn't
I don't even think the team is
he's
aware of
not a good
how the
guy. It's
stand
not
came
good,
into
but it's just like
place.
it's
Yeah.
just weird.
Yeah. I don't know. It's not
Again,
the
he's the
worst.
bad guy. He's doing bad things. So it's not like it's not like it's not even framed in a way where it's like it's supposed to be excusable. But it's like you don't sometimes you don't have to be that up.
Yeah. you know. It's just I don't know. That one got to me weird. But like, I do actually like the stand's power itself, like this, kind of like shape-shifty thing that's like basically the opposite of Giorno's powers, and like he has that realization at some point and that kind of gives him the upper hand. I love it
Right.
when
And
I love it when
it's still a cool fight.
yeah, I love it when one enemy and one, protagonist have like completely opposed stands, right? It reminds
Hey
me of
Josh,
it reminds me of like, Hamon versus vampires, right?
put a pin in this.
Yeah.
We'll get back to it later. I promise you.
That should be the subtitle of this is, Golden Wind Part 1. We'll get back to it.
we will revisit this thing that we set up Chekhov's wind. I don't know, man.
Chekhov's Wind. That's what they should have called it. Vento Chekhov.
Chekhov's. Oh. Chekhov's Bizarre Adventure. You get the Grateful Dead with the guy with no neck.
I love the Grateful Dead stand, right? Just like the
And Beach
the stand
Boys.
the stand that makes you old.
The stand that makes you. Leave me alone. God, my parents were watching that stupid trap movie
Bro,
when I went home for Christmas.
As long as I am on this podcast, there will be Shyamalan references. And
I'm in hell.
And some of them will be to movies that I like Old. What, Old on Patreon?
Oh my god. Honestly, if the Patreon is where I trade suffering for money, that's, you know.
I like Old. Okay? Don't shit on me.
I'm not shitting on you. I'll shit on Shyamalan though.
But yeah, good stand, you know. They actually make a fishing hook as a stand feel formidable, you know. To the point that Bruno almost kills himself.
Stupid. He does. He straight up, flat out almost dies.
Which, like, I will say, I don't understand how he can remove some parts of himself sometimes and it's cool and nothing bad happens. But then once he slices his heart in half, it's like, oh no, he's gonna die. Because I always just assumed that, like, it was, like, a splitting open or refracting of, like, you know, of reality. So it's like, you know, in some kind of dimensional sense, the heart is still intact, but it's just not in our dimension. That's what I was guessing, but then when you split it apart, it's like, okay, then that suddenly stops being the case.
Right. I think if in a reasonable sense the thing remains intact, it's fine. Right? So like if what you separate, like the guy earlier, if you put a zipper around your neck, right, and you take his head off, like that's just separating the head from the body, but like you see the pocket dimension, like the esophagus is tangibly still connected. But if you put a zipper around your heart in a fashion that unravels your heart so that it is like open, it is no longer like. And I think there may be something about intention to it. I'm not so sure. But Bruno knows his stand better than I do.
But where does esophagus begin and lungs begin? You know, like, you know,
I'm not it's all tissue, dude.
It's all tissue. The labels are made up. You know.
Yeah, and you're
organs are a social construct. Okay.
Organs are a social construct is crazy. You know, I can. There are a lot of things that people will look at me funny because I unironically do believe they are like complete fabrications of societal fabric. Organs, I gotta say, call me crazy. I don't think that's one of them. I think organs are tangible.
So you're telling me that there's a biological factual fact that this much is lungs and this much is esophagus, and there's no gradient in between.
I think if you asked a biologist to point on the diagram where the esophagus is and where the lungs are, they would be able to do so. I also think that if you said, okay, where does the esophagus end and the lungs begin?
But on a metaphysical standpoint,
I think they would be able to do so.
Or is it just because we decide that this part of tissue is esophagus and this part of tissue is lungs? And
I think it's DNA, dude. They're different kinds of cells.
You're telling me that the kinds of tissue in esophagus and the kind in lungs is entirely different?
I don't think they're entirely different, but I think they are tangibly different.
And the stand is specific enough that they can, you know, that if you cut the line exactly right, it...
Listen, I didn't write this shit. I don't know why I'm
not attacking you. Listen, I'm attacking the logic.
Put Josh in judge robes and put me at the I'm wearing my orange jumps.
Get me an interview with Hirohiko Araki, okay? And I will ask him the searing questions, all right? You know.
That's crazy.
I mean, Josh, Clint Eastwood got in a room with him. I can get in a room with him. Apart from the fact that that the boss is obviously a person that we're very familiar with in this show. You know, what else is there to talk about, right?
Listen, I'll let you believe whatever you want to. Um, you're gonna have such a hard time. You're gonna have such a hard time with this because oh man, they do not make it easy for you to believe that what you think right now could be any other way. Um, I have one last question on the topic of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 5,
Sure.
episodes 1 through 21 for you, Josh.
Sure. What's up?
What do you think King Crimson is?
What do I think King Crimson is? Okay.
Yeah,
So,
what do you think King Crimson is right now?
so my understanding is that that King Crimson is a stand that is able to essentially observe the future up to a few seconds. So he is able to like get that far and then basically be able to predict what's going to happen next based on that. That's my understanding right now. There's only been one fight with him, so I can't say absolutely for certain that that's the case, but that's what I know so far.
They, that is one of the biggest questions in the entire community. What does King Crimson do? And I'll
Really?
just let you hold on to that.
You're
I'll
you're
I'll
telling
I'll,
you're
I'll give
telling
you that,
you're telling me
and
that
I'll let you
people
hold on to it.
you're telling me that people aren't in agreement about how the enemy's stand works for the rest of the show?
What does King Crimson do? There's a whole copy pasta. I'll run the meme next time as like the intro bit or
Oh,
something.
oh, there's a meme. Okay,
Don't look it up. Do not look it
okay,
up. Do not look it up. Do not look it up.
I won't, I won't,
Spoilers.
I won't.
I've been very careful about spoilers this time, Josh.
King Crimson.
Literally
Copy
looking up what is
pasta.
King Crimson. Do not look it
I didn't look.
up.
I'm not looking it up. I'm not looking it up. Okay, I'm not looking it up. Hands are free.
It's spoilers. You're going to be mad. You're gonna look it up, and it's gonna be spoilers, and you're gonna be mad.
Okay, I'm not looking it up. I'm not looking it up. My
Don't
hands are
look it
free.
up.
My hands are free. I'm still looking at the lira. Oh, this is the Turkish lira. Is that different from the Italian lira? I'm sorry. I got to get my
You got to get your lira to dollar
Yeah.
evaluation correct. While Josh does his financial calculations, I would like to take one last moment in our show before we start wrapping things up and give you guys the wonderful news, okay?
Yeah. What's up?
This is our first episode of 2025,
Yeah.
and it is my grand pleasure to say that here on our inaugural JoJo's episode of 2025, Part 7 has been confirmed.
Hell yeah.
For many of us in the JoJo's community, myself included, we have been following an account for several years now called Is Part 7 Confirmed? You can rest easy now, friend. Part 7 is in production. We are getting animated JoJo's Part 7 sometime soon. And also, let me look this up just to be for sure because I'm not sure what the dates are, but JoJo's Part 7 the manga is getting an English like an official English translation release
I
in
think it's starting
physical
in
book
May.
form in May.
think it's
JoJo's
starting in
Part
May.
7 English release. Let's see. Summer 2025 confirmed by Viz Media. So,
Yeah.
Steel Ball Run fans, we're gonna be eating good this year. We'll let David do their bullshit with Fire Force, collect their paycheck on that one, and then we get to see all the glories of
So
Johnny Joestar.
So has it been confirmed to be coming out this year, or is it just confirmed to be in production this year?
It is in production. I don't believe that
I don't imagine they can
is-
complete a season of television in a year. Maybe I'm
I
wrong.
don't believe that it's coming out this year. I believe it's probably going to be 2026, if I had to guess,
Yeah.
if not 2027 even. That's kind of, I've been looking at 2027 kind of as the year for Steel Ball Run for a while now. It's been kind of not my prediction. I haven't like it's not like I have any authority or any insider knowledge on this. It's just kind of like, okay, it's always been considered as unadaptable,
Yeah.
and that's mainly I think because there are so many horses, and I don't know if you're aware of this or not. It is incredibly difficult to animate a horse in a way that looks not freakish.
Mm-hmm.
So animating
Yeah.
several hundred horses uh, can be a challenge for a studio that may not be necessarily equipped to do that. So
I will say to their benefit, I've been seeing the quality of the 3D animation in this show improving steadily. So I think if they were to do the horses with CGI and then put 2D characters on top of that, that might work. We'll
it would
see.
not hurt my feelings at all if that's what it takes. I'll take a 3D horse if I can see Gyro Zapelli
Get get the
tell hot pants to fall off their horse.
get get the folks who get the folks from Arc System to share some technology with them, okay? They can make it work. They can make it happen, okay? I believe in them.
Can you put the when I go into that? Can you put the fan made Steel Ball Run song in there?
Oh yeah,
Pretty
definitely.
please. And you got to go back. You go vocal percussion on a whole nother
Another
level coming from my mind.
Mind.
And I
Hell
also
yeah.
I have one more song request. I want to replace the Mother 3 outro with every time I close my eyes.
I don't think I can get away with that last one, but I don't think YouTube will let me get away with that one. But
Netflix gets away with it.
well, Netflix has they have all the rights cleared. But so Golden Wind was 2018, right?
Uh-huh.
And then when was Stone Ocean? Was that 2020 or
I
2021?
believe so. I think it was 2020.
Stone Ocean. Uh, come on.
It was written in 2011.
Stone Ocean anime
Oh no, I'm
was
so sorry. So we kind of misspoke earlier. Part 6 was
2021.
released between December of 1999 and April of 2003. Part 5 was written largely like throughout the early 90s, like 95 or so. I think
Okay.
it was like the latest of Golden Wind. Let me check
So
just to
yeah,
be sure.
still
Yeah,
like
95 to 99 was when Golden Wind was being written.
yeah, so like,
Um
just a different culture at the time, even then, compared to where we're at now. But so looking at about 3 years in between parts, right? So it would kind of make sense for I mean, I guess COVID and the horses thing and the unadaptability thing is probably a lot of stuff standing in their way, but like it wouldn't.
I feel like Stone Ocean was probably more heavily impacted by COVID for a lot of reasons. I
Mhm.
think they did still an excellent job with it, but there were some parts of it that either because of the original manga, which we'll get to when we get to,
Yeah.
but Stone Ocean has always been one that people have been either hot or cold on. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, man.
Yeah.
We still have half of Golden Wind to worry about before we get to Steel Ball Run.
And
Not Steel
Stone
Ball
Ocean.
Run. Stone Ocean, yeah.
Yeah. Um so if we're done talking about JoJo's for today, I do have a little segment.
A segment.
Yeah, we actually recorded this for the Metaphori Fantasio episode, the original recording we did of that, but then that thing got thrown into the gutter, so that so I never got to share my piece about this publicly. But I actually picked up some manga for Black Friday, and one of the things I read was this thing called Crazy Food Truck by Rokuruo Ogaki. I'm sorry. Dumbass. But
Baka Gaijin.
yeah, dumbass white guy here trying to read. Anyways, Crazy Food Truck. I saw it and I was like, that sounds like a good time, right? It's got this kind of like post-apocalyptic setting, and like the implication is that there's a food truck in the apocalypse. That sounds fun. Um,
Mm.
it's not good. It's not good.
Oh, damn.
You expect like Mad Max meets Delicious in Dungeon, and it's more like Mad Max if it was made by Michael Bay, maybe. Like, just no care for its characters really, which is
No
unfortunate.
soul.
No soul really. It doesn't even seem all that interested in cooking, which is weird to me. Like, it's just it doesn't have any care for like the specificities of technique and stuff like that. That's important to that sort of thing. And there's like a weird conspiracy thriller angle to it that I don't think really needs to be there.
Mm.
I would prefer if it was just more of like a slice of life kind of thing with more interest to its characters. And the one of the protagonists is just, I don't understand how even they got away with this level of sexualization in the past like 5 years. It's, I don't know.
So what you're telling me is it's slop.
It's slop. It's bad.
Okay.
Which sucks because they do a very good job with the presentation on the cover. But I wanted to let people know that this isn't worth it. If I just chucked it across the room.
Crazy.
But yeah, I've got other stuff to read. I got this thing called Cat Gamer that I'm going to check out and probably tell you guys about. I got the aforementioned JoJo's spinoff, Shining Diamond's Demonic Heartbreak, which isn't canon, but might still be fun, And I also picked up the original first volume of Full Metal Alchemist. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I've got plenty of reading material here. So, Josh's Manga Corner might become a recurring segment.
I through a couple of different instances also have a couple of manga to talk about for
cool.
a moment.
We might just have Manga Corner.
Kagurabachi. I'm only a couple chapters into this. And so far it's fairly standard shonen, but it's very well rendered. I like some of the ideas it's been presenting so far, and I'm at least gonna finish the volume and we touch back on this. But I mean, like I said, I'm only like 2 or 3 chapters in, so as shonens go, it is.
What's the basic premise?
It's holding my like chapter 1. It's just this kid whose dad is a blacksmith. He makes swords, and there's kind of there's more questions than answers right now.
I was just curious if you knew about more grows about it up, picked it up.
That's about, like, you see that picture, about as much as I do. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, if you see this, if you come across it online, I would read the first couple chapters again. It's not bad. Yeah. Also, Josh got me this for Christmas. Fully Cooley Omnibus. I haven't started this yet. I've thumbed through it a little bit just to see some of the panels and see, like, if things I remember line up, if there's anything weird going on. It seems like there's a lot weird going on. So,
positive or negative?
Even I can't really tell yet, because it could be one of those things where it's like, okay, they actually love this and they care about this and they wanted to make this, or it could be, Fully Cooley. I don't even know the names of the other Fully Cooley, because they've been making them
progressive and grunge, right?
Bro, and they're all just disappointments. But I mean, everything that I've seen in this so far is just overwhelmingly cute. Like, it's just adorable. Look at him.
Aww.
It's like, so I'm excited about it, but I'm gonna plug my way through Kagurabachi before I start on Fully Cooley Omnibus. But
all right,
Fully Cooley reference for all the OG fans that remember how we started.
Fully Cooley. I've been considering rewatching stuff that we did early on, and I think Fooly Cooly would be a good one to do.
I think I've considered calling like a revisit series like B-sides or something.
That would be cool. That would be a cool thing to do on our Patreon, which probably won't be up by the time this episode comes out, but I'm working on it. I'm gonna try to get something out by the next episode. So get ready for something.
We've been teasing it for literally 4 years now, guys. If you want to give us your money,
Yeah.
it might actually happen. You might be
Yep.
able to.
Yeah, working on a few different ideas for some perks, probably like a way higher tier that includes, like some kind of physical item that would be cool, some kind of physical personalized item. But we'll talk about that on our own time and work on it. But
Sure.
if that sounds cool to you and you want to get an update on when that officially drops, considering following us either wherever you're listening or on our social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Bluesky. We have all the links below. And if you want to know more information about the show and what our schedule is going to be, you can check out our website, howtootaku.com, which I have updated yet again. This time with our 5-star ranking on Apple and Spotify. So proud of that. Nobody dislikes us. It's so crazy.
Nobody dislikes us. Everybody loves us.
And
And I will live in this delusion until that 5-star ranking is broken. And the second we go down to 4 3/4 stars, I'm gonna die. Like, the podcast's over. I'm sorry, guys.
It's over. If anybody dislikes us, it's over. No negative feedback.
But
yeah.
to give you guys a little bit of a hook, our next episode
is Dandadan.
Dandadan. That's right.
Yeah, the show that the internet's been going crazy over for the past couple of months.
Bro, not just the internet, me. Dandadan. Like,
I've only seen a few episodes of it, so I still have a ways to go, but I've heard that there's some cool stuff that happens in the latter half, and I want to see it.
I'm gonna put my foot down now before we even get into the episode. There are a lot of sexual themes in Dandadan.
Yep.
There are a lot of kind of weird bits going on. I don't want to spend too much time talking about it in that episode because that's just kind of like part of the shtick of what's going on with that show. And so we're gonna put an M tag on that episode, and viewer beware. We
will not be able to discuss it without discussing how it approaches sex and sexuality.
Yes. And I will say, while there are some weird bits, I think that they're actually handled very intelligently and very well in the broader universe of discourse that we find ourselves in. So,
yeah.
Look, we'll get there. It'll be fine. Don't freak out. She gets abducted by aliens and they take her clothes off. It'll be okay. You've seen a boobie before. If you haven't, what the f*** are you doing here?
And on that note, how can we end it any other way? Thanks for watching, y'all, or listening, and we'll see you guys next time.
See you, Space Cowboy.